in Dreamweaver, the first thing I need to do is I'm going to say File, New. Now when you say File, New, most of you in Notepad++ have been opening a template. So I don't want you to do this with me because I really won't wait for you to catch up. I want you to pay attention. So because the video will be available to you, you can then do it at your own pace. So I'm just going to go to blank page, HTML, and here you can choose. If you are going to use HTML5, please choose HTML5 and let your teacher know that you're going to use HTML5. I know some of you are from Ithaca and that's what you would like to use, but tell your teacher. Again, your teachers are pretty strict. They want you to use XHTML strict, and I'm just going to select that because that is what is expected. So XHTML strict, and I will say create. Now what happens is it creates the template for me which you have been using. It says that this document is going to be of the type XHTML strict. Now you have a template.html which you are opening, isn't it, in Notepad? That's okay, you can use that. So this is my template. Now I need 3 columns. From the example you can see that I need primarily 3 columns. Yesterday, some of you, I think most of you were able to use div tags and make rows and columns. 3 columns, 3 rows basically means 3 boxes. Yes?
Isn't there an HTML5 function for columns?
There could be. Could be. I'm using XHTML1 strict now. Okay, so I really need div tags, 1 division, and I'm going to close it. You can see Dreamweaver automatically helps me to close it. I need another division. So the first division was, I'm just going to call it ID equals left. I'm going to copy this. So I've got a left column. Then I need a middle column. Now because the middle column might need to be styled differently, if you play with percentages, sometimes you don't need to. If you throw away the right side box, it will automatically extend. But I'll just keep it in mind that I have 2 different middle columns. One is middle for the home page, and there's a middle for the table page. You can see in this page, there is no middle column. So the middle column will get adjusted after the right column is thrown out. So I have middle home and I have right. Now, if I click on split view, you can see what happens here is Dreamweaver tries to show me what's happening here. It's going to show me the columns. I'm just going to put some text here. Left, I'm going to say logo and navigation here. Page content here. And quick links and banners here. So you can see I've got these 3 things here, and I do apologize for the small fonts right now. So it's given me 3 boxes. Now I have to start saying or start telling the boxes where they should sit. Now you really need to be able to get this layout for your teachers to pass you. Inside the layout, you will be putting HTML content, headings, paragraphs, and everything you learned. It's for a beginner, it's a fairly daunting exercise. For those of you who have done HTML, it's quite a trivial exercise. Okay, so just bear in mind the course is also targeted at beginners. I'm going to save it. Now, what I have done here is I have got 2 folders. Yesterday, you were saving the HTML file and the CSS file in the same location. But from today, and you will have to get into it, so might as well. For your assignment also, you need it in separate folders. I'm just going to call this index.html because it's my first page, and I'm going to put it in the pages folder. I'm going to save it. I am going to make a new CSS file, and I'm going to save that into the CSS folder. So I'm just going back into assignment 1, CSS. I'm just going to call it main.css. So I've got an index, I've got a CSS. The next thing I do, and most of you will remember this, is that I need to link it. So I'm just going to call here and I'm going to say assignment 1 demo, and I'm just going to link these things together, the CSS with the HTML. With Dreamweaver, you can get a lot of assistance with these small things. For example, I could go and press the link button somewhere here on CSS. See, there's a link button here. But you guys know how to get the code. You can get the code and just type it in the title. So it is link, and I've got a sample here. So you are going to link, and you're going to say where it is. href is hyperlink reference. You're going to say the relationship is, it's a style sheet, and you will also say the type, because if you don't tell the type, and Teresa reminded me that in XHTML strict I have to close it by itself, so I have to do a slash, otherwise not in HTML5 but in XHTML strict, and the type is equal to text/CSS. This was an error that came up quite a few times yesterday. So I've got the link here. Now how do I specify the file yesterday? File main.css. Yesterday we just typed main.css, right? But because it is in a different folder, I go out of the folder. So my HTML file is in a folder. If I say // it comes out of the folder. And then if I say CSS, it goes into the folder. Okay? So this page, it will come out of the folder, look for CSS folder, and inside that folder it will look for main.css. Okay, because they are in different folders. And I can show that to you. So somewhere here in 2014, I have assignment 1, and you can see I got pages and CSS. So inside pages I've got my HTML. So when I say // it comes here, and then when I say CSS it goes here. That's how it works. // one level up. It is a legacy from the DOS days. So there, I've linked it. In my middle page, and yesterday we did this. We did some lipsum.org. I'll just get some dummy text for the middle content. I've clicked on generate lorem ipsum, and I'm just going to copy 2 paragraphs. And I'm going to paste it here. So I've actually got some content here. I'll make the paragraphs a bit smaller for now, just so that I can see my code better. Don't need too many paragraphs. So I've got ID left, ID middle, and I've got ID right. I need one more ID. I need a footer. So I'm going to add one more div tag. And the last div tag is ID footer. And I'll just put the ampersand copy semicolon. Just pay attention. You don't have to do anything. Learn. What is being said is being recorded, and it will be available to you as a video, so you will get to see what you missed. I'm just going to say copy here. These two dots that I use on the sides of heading, I've been using them for about 20 years. I still don't get tired of it. I like it. It adds a bit of beauty to your text. It's, I think, about 20 years easy. I've put a H1 tag here. Got an H1 tag. Now I want to see, I need to keep saving it. I want to see whether the CSS is actually linked. So I'm going to start applying some CSS. By default, pages will give you a margin, sometimes a 12 pixel margin, sometimes a padding. So one of the first things that I do, and I've got some CSS here which I'll keep handy. One of the first things I do is under body, I go and basically say that my margin will be 0, padding. So the body, I don't want any margin or padding on the body, and I choose my font. And you can see the advantage of Dreamweaver is you get this text assist. So I'm going to say font family, and I can just go and choose Trebuchet. Trebuchet is the font that I'm using for my code, by the way. I like it a lot. I think it's the cleanest sans serif.
Needs to be semicolon. Padding is it colon or semicolon?
Ah, yeah. Thanks, John. This padding needs to be colon. And I've got a font family. I will just set the font size to 100% for now, which means I'm not going to set it to anything. But you will learn that 62 is a better method of doing it, because then you can use M's, and the M's will correspond to the pixel size. It is something that will be taught in font size. Basically, if you set your font size in the body to 62.5%, then if you set up a font size of 1 M, it is about 10 pixels, 2 M is 20 pixels. There is a math that goes on. So the note tells you about this thing. I'm just going to leave it at 100% and adjust it by trial and error for now. Okay, I'm going to save this. I come back to index, and I can see, I can see that the CSS is working because the font has changed. Good. But you can see there's still one below the other. Not good enough. Now let's start styling it. Okay? Let's start styling it. So the left is an ID. So IDs are determined by hash. Okay, so hash left, and I'll just check here. I've got ID equals left. I need to style this. I'll do it in two ways, but I'll start with percentage. You see this whole thing from here to here is 100%. So if I have these columns as 30%, 30%, 40%, footer has to come at the bottom. But these 30, 30, 40, they will, or they should, come besides each other. So let me start with something like that, or maybe, so left, I'm going to say width as 25%. I'm just going to float these to the left, and I'll show you what it means in a while. So 25, 25, and 50. If I do that, save it, you can see how the boxes are now beginning to shrink. Now that was middle, was it middle home or middle home? Yeah. So middle home is 50%, and right is 25%, okay? So I've got 3 div tags saved. Something happened here. I deleted something by mistake. Div id equals left. Yep, so I've got 25%, 25%, and 50%. The only problem is they're not sitting next to each other. Now when I start floating them, this is a box, it is floating on your page. When I say float left, and again there are many ways of doing it. You can use pixels, you can use clears, you can use float left, you can use float right. When I float the left one, and I apply the float to the next one, and the next one. In this case, I'm going to cover the screen, so I'm not worrying about left or right. But see what happens when I float them. You can see how they come next to each other. 1, 2, 3. Okay? So they've come besides each other, each of these boxes. So you've got 3 columns right now. What happened to the footer? Now the footer, as per the layout, we need it down. So you've learned what float does. Let me show you one more item. So I need something for the footer. The reason I'm copying and pasting is because I get the brackets, I get the hash. I minimize my chances of making a mistake. For the footer, I want the whole width, so no problem. And I don't want to float it. There is another property called clear. What does clear do? If you say clear left, the box will clear everything to its left. Okay, it's left. It will say nobody can be on my left, clear off. Or clear to its right. And if I say clear both, it will not let anybody sit on either side of this box. So when I say clear both, see what happened to the footer? It fell down. Because previously it was sitting next to a box. Now when I said clear, he said, oh, I can't sit next to anybody. I have to go down. So it goes and sits where there's nobody besides it. Now you can see the text, it is sitting on the left side. If I add a property to the footer called text align, and I say right. So a simple text align pushes it to the right. Now you can see it has gone and stuck all the way to the right, to the edge. Maybe you don't want it sticking to the edge. So let's introduce a new property. We can have a property called padding. Now padding is inside a cell, okay? You apply a padding inside a cell. Padding. And you can have padding top, you can have padding right, you can have padding bottom, and you can have padding left, okay? Or you can just use padding, and the first value is the value of top or north, okay? The second value is right or east. So news, just remember, first, second, third, fourth, like a clock. News, if you remember news, you'll remember it. And I'll just put and so on, so you know the rest. So top, right, bottom, left. That's the deal. So I'm saying padding, top is okay, I don't worry about the top, 0. Right, I want 10 pixels. Bottom, I don't care. And left, I don't care. There's another shortcut. If you just give 2 values, it will make the top and bottom 0, the left and right 10. Or you can give all 4 values. It's called shortcut. It's a shorthand notation for giving a style. Okay, I'll just put 10 pixels, enough, left and right, and there you can see I've got a bit of a padding here. You see this? A bit of a padding. If I don't want my box to sit very close to the top, I can do something called margin, and I'm showing margin because I want to impress upon you that margin is outside the line and padding is inside the line. So if I say margin top 10 pixels and the rest is 0, the top and bottom will be 10 pixels. Do I have margin? Nope. Okay, let me try margin top. You can see it has done it. This part on top is the margin, and if I was to try and see what it looks like in the browser, it will give me a gap. I have not got the gap yet. But can you see this region here? The region that it has selected for me, that is the margin, and the margin is outside the box. I'll still have to look at it as to why it hasn't fallen down. Maybe if I preview it. No, it doesn't seem to have given it to me. I will see what's happening here by giving it a border, 1 pixel border, solid and black in color. So the reason I'm giving this border is because I just want to see what's happening here. Yeah, so the border should have had a gap between the two, so it's not working. I'll leave this for now. I'm just going to leave these two for now, and I'll continue with what I was going to show you, and I'll come back to this next week. So I've got 3 columns, 25, 50, 25. Now the only problem is, you can see when I put content here, it is going all the way to the edge. All the way to the edge. Now I need padding. I'm just going to put a padding of 1%. Just a small padding of 1%. And see what happened. The right box fell down. So I've got my padding. You can see my text is not sitting all the way to the left edge. But the box fell down because the total is more than 100%. If I put a padding of 1% on the left side and right side, just padding 1% means top, left, right, bottom. It goes all around. I must make this 48 for the total to be 100. See that? The total should be 100. So 48% plus 1% padding, 50. So the total should be 100. If you're going to add paddings and margins, you must reduce the width, in this method at least. So here again, I'm going to make this 23, and I'm going to copy padding, because you want your site to be neat and clean. Yesterday Tony spoke a lot about white space. White space is what you need. You need some space around content. And now I've put padding. There's a bit of space, 1% on both sides, and it should be fine. I'm going to end this demo very soon by just giving these things some background colors and also some height. The easiest way to get all your columns to be the same height is, for now as beginners, to just add a height of, I'm just going to add a height of 600 pixels to each of these boxes, and I will add a color, a background color. So again, Dreamweaver assists me a lot. I think I deleted something. So Dreamweaver Assist gives me the color menu. just take a light pastel shade, semicolon to end it. This is an extra semicolon. And on the right side, I'll put the height everywhere first of all. So I'm adding a lot more CSS today than what most of you have learned yesterday. And this is really a lesson for people who are totally new in this field of HTML and CSS. On the right side, I'll make it darker and I'll make the color white. So there, that's my 3 columns. I'm going to add some boxes on the right which you need as per the layout, and that will be the final thing I'll do for today. And then you can give it a go. The assignment really takes you a good 10 hours. It's a good 10-hour assignment. So you can start with the knowledge that you have acquired, start looking at the assignment, start getting warmed up to the idea of what you need to do. Don't wait for the due date to arrive and then the night before you open your computer and sit. It won't work, it won't happen. And you can see the amount of adjustments you need to do. You need to adjust height, percentage, color, fonts. There are just too many things that you need to adjust. And even at the diploma level, most of the students, they call me just to help, just to get some help with CSS. So they'll call me over and say, hey Dilip, I'm trying to do this is not working. And then I would sit there, I don't know everything, I'll try to find a solution and try to hack it in the CSS, and sometimes it works. Rarely it doesn't, but usually it works when you sit there and hack at it. Now this last column, you can see as per the layout, the last column needs more boxes. Now these boxes have to be inside this column. These boxes have to be inside this bigger box. You have to think how the boxes are arranged. Boxes inside boxes. Now many times you will see people use a container box. If I was to do this in pixels, I would use a container box. And I will probably do that as well if we have some time today. I will stop the recording and then start a second recording which will show you how to do it as pixels. But inside the right box, these quick links and banners, I need 4 boxes, right? Inside this, I need 4 boxes. Div ID equals box 1 / div. I need 4 of them. I will try to style them with the same CSS. So a CSS which is used multiple times, does it have to be an ID or a class? Something that I'm going to use many times, it must be a class. ID has to be unique. So because I'm going to use 4 boxes and the same style, I'm going to make a class, and this is a good opportunity for us to practice class. So inside the main CSS, I'm coming down, and dot box is a class. Let me see where my boxes have gone. You can see these are my boxes. Now those boxes, I can say, I'll give it a width 80%. I want them in the center. To be in the center, if you say margin left auto and margin right auto, the box should sit in the center. Okay? So it should be 80% and it should sit in the center. Box, 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 margin left auto. There's a semicolon missing here. And you can see now the box is smaller, but it is still in the center of the right side. I can do some other things. Background color white, like hash FFF is white. Colors are from 0 to 9 in A to F hexadecimal. You learn that. I will give it a height of 150 pixels, and actually let me set the margin top to 10 pixels and then auto. So top is 10, right is auto, bottom is 10, left is auto. This is what it means. If I say just margin, then the values go top, right, bottom, left. So let's see what this and font color. Yeah, font color can be font color. I'll just make it black because the background is white. And you can see these are my boxes. Height is too much. I'll reduce the height, make it 110 pixels, make the gap 5 pixels. Height 80 pixels and make the gap 20 pixels. But there, those are my boxes and something like this. So that's your layout. Okay, 3 columns, boxes. And then you will put your content here. H1, then you'll start the H1. You put a P, you need to put a list, you need to put a table. Then the same page can be used for this one. Now when you come to this one, you need to delete this div tag and you have to apply a new style to the middle one. This one I call middle home. You can call middle timetable for the timetable page. And you can extend the width to match the percentage to 100. So that's all. I'm going to save this. I will upload it if you need to see the whole session again, the whole demo again. So I'm just going to stop the recording now.